Climate Change, a video lecture by James Thompson. What do we mean by sustainability? The most basic definition of sustainability is the capacity to endure. In terms of climate change, it becomes the planet's ability to endure the damage caused by climate change and to continue support and for its ability to continue to support human life or environmental sustainability. As humans, we have a natural curiosity and requirement for satisfaction that has driven us to overconsumption and has created a system where sustainability is no longer economically viable. Currently, wealth drives society, and a larger source of wealth is energy. This creates an economic no-brainer. A cheap, reliable source of energy will create large amounts of wealth. For hundreds of years, this has been fossil fuels. It's only until recently that the true cost of these fuels has been discovered. Burning fossil fuels comes with a negative externality in the form of greenhouse gases. This graph from the NASA website shows the extent of the increase in greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases go up and down in a cyclical nature, as seen here. Apart from when you can see when the Industrial Revolution happened on the graph, and the level of greenhouse gases increases tremendously. The effect has been exacerbated by the fact that the Industrial Revolution happened to also be in an era of high atmospheric carbon dioxide. The real cost of sustainability. Currently, we are still driven to increase wealth, and the monetary value placed on the damage to the climate is minimal. In more developed countries, a monetary cost has been placed on burning fossil fuels to make them less economically viable, but even this has not been able to wean us off dependency. In the UK, there are tax breaks for renewable energy and price increases on and restrictions on fossil fuels. But then this is only a small step to solving the actual problem. What has led to this situation? As I said before, the Industrial Revolution in the late 18th century created a huge demand for energy. This demand has been satisfied by fossil fuels. So the supply has always been able to satisfy the demand, and the demand is just permanently increasing, which has created this big problem. We have now discovered that burning fossil fuels causes huge damage to the environment. As we have only recently discovered this, our modern society is completely based on the burning of fossil fuels, and with the huge modern society is completely based on the burning of fossil fuels, and we have put huge investments into infrastructure. This has created a dependency that will almost be impossible to correct. Climate change as an issue is easily identified by economists. Understanding the problem has always been half the battle. If you do not understand climate change, how can you combat it? This is what created climate change. If no one is able to identify the issue, to us there is no issue. Only once the true cost has been discovered can it be tackled. Understanding the negative externality is a crucial weapon in preventing climate change from progressing further. The negative externality is simple. Currently, the price would be at the marginal private cost, which is the price that the market force creates. That's without taking into account the externality. Once you simply add a price for the externality, it moves the price up and you get a new equilibrium, including the marginal social cost. This should reduce the quantity. It's only by a large increase in the price will you see a drastic decrease in the use of fossil fuels, because it would require a large infrastructural change. So using solar power or renewable energy requires a complete infrastructure overhaul from fossil fuels to renewables, which is why it's such a problem, as it essentially becomes political suicide to do it, because the short term, it's bad in the short term, but good in the long term, and it's hard to sell that when politicians are only in for short periods of time. How can economists help this? Economists can engage climate change financially. We can use economics to show that committing to cut greenhouse gas emissions will create financial benefits to the countries that invest. Cutting greenhouse gases incredibly well. I think Norway produces 100% of its electricity using renewables, and they're able to build up vast sum of money selling their oil. The countries that are fully sustainable have large economic benefits. They can get heavy industry to move there because their energy costs are so low because of the renewable energy. So you can get metalworks and things like that moving in, which is high cost kind of industry that you can bring into your country. Help has to also be provided to undeveloped countries to help them avoid our mistakes. Undeveloped countries need to get they don't have the infrastructure, so if you set in place renewable energy infrastructure and things like that, it actually defeats the problem before it ever arises. And evidence from economists on the financial benefits as well as the social benefits help politicians act decisively, and it will help them be able to explain the problem and makes it a lot easier to tackle. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.